And so this is where we're currently at here, land lot 186. And of course it's Talbot Harris, but this is all Harris County.
Yeah.
And we're literally right now standing in land lot 186. And so you want to read this real quick. It's only 2 quick pages. It gives you the information of Terryville, Talbot, and the people that we're getting ready to go see. Good afternoon. I have the distinct honor and privilege of standing here on what is called Terryville, which used to be the Terryville Plantation. Geographically speaking, we're located currently in Harris County, Georgia, right on the borderline of Talbot, Georgia. The reason I'm here is because my family history starts here in this area. The history of the Terry family connection begins with Monday Terry, who was born in 1845 in Talbot County and married Elvira Denson, who was born in 1850. Monday Terry was a slave here on the Terry Plantation behind me. It's located here in Shiloh, run by the 3 brothers. Earlier today, Robert and I had the pleasure of being able to walk and identify the final resting place of several of my family members. With Robert's permission, I would like to hold up this picture of Frederick Monday Terry, born 1877 and died 1938. Also included in the picture is his wife, Nellie Carter Terry. If you take a walk down the dirt road, approximately about, I'll say a good 100 yards or so, their final resting place is located there at the Terry Cemetery. Notice you start seeing the headstones straight back.
Oh, okay, yep.
Yes. So Robert, and I didn't bring the book with me, but at this point, this is the slave cemetery, the Terryville, and here would be my great cousin, Jim Terry, born 1858, died December the 8th, 1915. A.J. Terry is here at this headstone.
And who'd you say this was?
Again, just a family member. I wasn't able, I had information on Jim. Don't really have a lot of information here.
Age 63 years.
Yeah.
And then there's...
It's just so faded.
Yeah, something engraved right there. Then you can see Terry at the top here.
That's in memory of Jim Terry, born 1852. Bingo, I was just about to say, you're a historian like I am, and we're told that each time we see this stone marker sitting up, that it's basically an unidentified slave grave.
Exactly.
And they say if you actually look, there will be a straight line coming down.
Yeah, and yeah, because looking up through the woods there, I mean, I just see them just kind of just popping up.
Exactly.
All throughout here.
And so understanding that at the time, 65 enslaved human beings was here, you can imagine what is out here.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And
now let's keep going this way. Here's another one here.
yeah, we got the indentions right there.
In the ground.
Okay, here's one. There's a stone there. And then, so this is 2 we've got one right here,
Yes, sir.
and then right behind it, one more and one right beside it.
Right. And guys, you see these tombstones here, that's where we're going. So the only question I really had was, Jim is here and his brothers are here. If we had to take a guesstimation, I would say that's a distance of about 70 yards. So again, I'm just wondering how much at that time was just completely open and how many slaves are out here.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, I see behind you. I mean, we've got all of these, even going down this hill.
And again, if you notice, this one also has writing on it as well. We took a picture last time. It seems as if they're lined straight up. You see that, Tom? This is also here. And that's Dunny. And it seems like it says my mother, so
Yeah, sure does.
what Dunny would be short for, I know sometimes Samantha would be short for Sam, you know,
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure on that one.
Donnie,
And
my
yes, there's two
mother.
tablets there. And again here, and it just seems like it makes that perfect lineup.
It does.
Yeah.
And it keeps going because you can see, even if there's no stone, you can see the indention.
Yes, sir.
So
That's correct. That's correct. And then there's another larger one here.
wow.
And then there's some type of a tablet writing we were never able to quite make out. At best, I figure that has to be a T. It looks like an inscribed T. FTH perhaps.
Let's see.
Frederick Terry Heath is a prominent name. And I just can't, I'm thinking that middle letter has to be the T.
Yeah, I see E-T.
So it's an E then. Okay.
Yeah, and the first part. Oh, you know what?
T-O. I'm just not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looks, okay, D.
D.
D-O.
O. Is that a Y?
I think it's a backwards D. O. Either, oh, N. N.
N.
Don. D-O-N. That's what I'm seeing. D-O-N and then E-T. So it's kind of hard to say for sure.
So what we're coming up on now, Rob, is what we call the heart of the Terry Plantation. The gravestones become a tad bit easier to read. And standing here is my great-grandmother Nellie Terry with the picture that I showed you. Born 1867, died 1959. And here is what we call the legend of the family, the man himself, Till Terry Sr., born 1872, died April 1938. And these two brothers were close in age, so of course they grew up together. Thick as thieves is what we're told. And he was born 1873, died 1918, and this is his wife, Mitty. I don't really have a lot of information there on her. And of course we have Henry, born 1862 and died 1913. Okay. As you said before, we'll notice two unmarked headstones directly to the side of Mitty.
And there's a big indention
Yes, sir, correct.
right there.
That's true. And then we'll notice another headstone, two more headstones going this way as well. And I want to kill you. Yeah, one here, two there.
It seems they're more tightly
Correct.
buried here. So something I just recently learned
Okay.
is that sometimes these field stones will have engravings in them.
Wow.
So it'll look like just, you know, just a rock, but they will actually have engraved something in them. Of course, there's nothing on this one, but it's always good to kind of take a close look at them.
Correct.
And this is two, I'm assuming, spaced, like one burial right here.
Correct. And maybe one
Then
going
another
this
one,
way is what I was thinking as well.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Just kind of placed really tightly together.
Right. And so as I've always said, you know, when they were originally buried out here, I'm sure everything was clean, you know, grass, and just over time it has just completely become grown up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I can only imagine in the middle of the summertime what it looked like,
Right.
or how difficult it would be to come out to this area.
If you had to guesstimate, how many people would you say are buried out here? Because I'm seeing a lot. And one of the things, well, you said by 1865 they had
65 slaves.
65 slaves. So that was
counted in the census.
and that's about 40 years after settlement here.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
and one thing also is I've been told with these unmarked graves is you always multiply them by 3. You know, because you see these, but there's 2 more that you don't see.
You don't see. Correct.
So I would say, you know, it looks like more than 65
Correct.
burials
Easily,
out here.
Easily. And there's another one here in the front. Field stone.
Sure enough.
Unfortunately, we just did not see a headstone or any type of engraving past golden. And a golden her stone is marked. And if you look very closely, you can actually see the cement slab, even though it's covered.
Sure enough.
But we were never able to locate a headstone for these 2 here.
Yeah.
So as I told you, you think you could see this from Highway 85? You would never knew it was back here.
Oh no.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
And Rob, like you said, we found this one. I like the number that you gave. You know, each time you saw one, there's got to be at least hundreds of these throughout the state of Georgia.
Oh, absolutely.
This area alone that we just don't know about.
Yeah.
Probably just lost the time.
Absolutely.
Lost the time. Field stone here. And again, my father and I just guesstimated that they perhaps just laid it here to mark it. We didn't really see a name on it.
Right.
It faded over time. It seems like it's pretty deep inside the ground.
Yeah, it is. But I don't see any sign of engraving, at least not on that side. We'll check back here.
So yeah, again, when we came out, you know, we just guesstimated perhaps with the hillside clean just down to the valley. And that was just a beautiful place to lay your loved ones for their final resting place. Really thought that this was lost forever to our family, and we basically just took a Hail Mary pass, and we came out in 2018 and we just walked the land, and we could not find anything. And Mr. McDaniel came up to us and he said, "What exactly are you guys looking for?" And we said, "Well, there's a plantation here called the Terry Plantation." And he said, "Well, have you guys gone above the hill?" We was actually located here. He said, "Have you guys gone up on the hill and looked?" And we said, "No, we'll give it a shot." And we just walked up on the hill and literally stumbled across it. And I can honestly say with fidelity to the camera, my father is in his 7th decade of life. I'm in my 4th decade of life. We grabbed each other, embraced, hugged, and we just openly wept. I'll be honest about it. I'll be honest. We openly wept that we were able to find this and find our family. Yes, sir.
So we were walking around out here and spotted more graves.
Correct.
Right here we've got 1, 2, there's 3, 4, and 5, and then behind that 6, 7, and I thought I saw an 8th one. It may be right there. Oh, that's probably it right there. And then turned around and spotted on the back of Jim Terry's stone right here. It says, "Was a member of Bethlehem Baptist Church." And there's an epitaph.
A charge to keep I have.
A charge to keep I have. And
Etc.
yeah, it looks like etc. right there.
Etc. I don't know.
That's what it looks like. But yeah. A charge to keep I have. That's pretty neat.
Is this the one for this one? Or is that a...
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so have you noticed that it would be seem like they're going back to back? Is that something? If the field stone is facing this way and Jim them are facing and this field stone is that way, or?
It's hard to say.
Hard to say, okay.
I would imagine it would be head here, but that being, since there's only one field stone, you know, if there's 2 field stones, usually a headstone and a footstone, but since there's just one, it kind of indicates that it would be a headstone. Yeah, except I take that back. You got to.
Got it.
You got to. So I would say it's probably head here. You know, feet there laid out like that. You got that one, and then you know this is an indentation right here. We've got that stone. But and again, this goes back to the thing of you see all of these marked stones, even if it's just marked with the field stone.
Correct.
And you add the 2 to it that you don't see, and because I just I didn't see these when we first came up here.
Right.
That's all these other burials.
6, 7, 8, 9. I got 10, Jim, 80, 11. Wow.
And so, my question would be, are these around the 1915 date, or are these earlier,
I would guess early. What would you think? I would think early, maybe.
It's weird that they don't have the field stones like all these do up here.
Sure.
So I would actually kind of estimate these being later,
Okay.
matching maybe the later 1800s, early 1900s, because there seems to be a change between these well-marked, even though it's the field stones, these well-marked ones up here versus these that are not well-marked.
Okay.
Also the indentation, there's another one. Right there, I don't know if I'd already pointed that one out or not. But
So here's the field stone.
it's a different kind of rock, too.
Yeah, I see.
These are... This is, honestly, like, finding this sort of stuff, it gets me excited because it's like these are the lost,
Right.
And it's also, and with all of these, it's always very sad because you don't know names for, we know, what is it, about 6 names?
Yeah.
Out here, and there's, all these that we don't know their names.
Right. So I guess I'm perhaps looking at another field stone here. Yep. Yep. You definitely know your craft. You definitely know your craft. Okay. And then Sean, this looks like one here on the side of you. And then that one over here. That's why I was looking at it real. Wow.
So we are kind of more spread out than I was first thinking.
Yeah.
Coming up here.
Way more. Does this look like perhaps a tornado came through, or a storm, or does this look cut down? It's just like we're getting to a...
I think well, it's possible. There was a tornado that came through here a few years back.
Okay.
This also looks like pine beetle.
Okay. So the
damage,
ruined white.
and then just, yeah. But we've got more. I see.
Oh, wow, it sure is.
I think there is off of here.
Guesstimation, we're probably up to about what number, roughly?
I'd say easily 100 up there.
Correct, right. I was close to 75, 80 myself, mentally in my head, so yeah, that sounds about right.
And then, you know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 right here, plus our 8 that we saw over there, plus the other ones that we right here in stone. Yeah, so this is another 20, 30.
Easy.
Right here, so.
I've passed here numerous times and never knew that the other Terry cemetery is located up here. Wow. Now this is the one that's on Find a Grave. If you go there, they actually have a picture of this one. Wow. And of course, Georgia Highway 85 is here. And I think directly across is the Talbot County.
Yeah.
And that's what we was always told, that the plantation straddled the Talbot and the Harris County lines.
Because these people had land back then.
Yeah.
So
Now,
this
how
is
did you find this one?
Dan.
Dan.
Dan,
okay.
this is where we pulled up here,
Uh-huh.
and someone shot a gun over there, and we said nope.
It's time to go. Now it looks like we got a.
Yeah, there's a
over
gravestone right here. So this is the White Terry cemetery right here. These would have been the plantation owners and their descendants.
Wow. 1835
to 1912.
1912. Now I think the matriarch of that family name was Sarah. Is what I kept seeing.
This is Stephen Alexander.
He's also in my book as one of the brothers that actually had Terryville, and if memory serves me correctly, according to the story, it was Stephen that brought the slaves to the commissary to announce the Emancipation Proclamation and tell them that they were free. And he told them they could leave or they could stay, and if they decided to stay, then they would work halves, sharecropping. So it was Stephen that actually did that. Wow.
And you got over here. Here's Sarah. In memory.
This was their mother.
In memory of Sarah F., wife of Stephen G. Terry's.
And from my understanding, she was born in Orangeburg, South Carolina, and migrated, I guess, here to Georgia during that land rush.
August 10th, 1802. And she died June 18th, 1870. And there's an epitaph down there, but I'm not going to try to read it today.
So let me get some pictures of this myself.
So this is sacred to the memory of another Sarah, Mrs. Sarah Cookson Johnston.
And then if you find one that says Frederick, that would be who my grandpa Teal is named after.
Gotcha.
Which I understand was a prominent back in the day, that they will often name one of the male slaves after the slave owner. Wow. And so that's what Frederick Teal Terry will be named after, the Frederick, when we find him out here.
And this is interesting. Here it says the relict of David Johnson. I think relict means widow.
Widow.
If I'm not mistaken, who departed this life. Let's say, so she's actually pre-Civil War.
Yeah,
1858, in the 61st year of her age. This is our sister, Elizabeth Caroline, daughter of Stephen and Mary Terry, born January 11th, 1799. Wow.
That's the one with South Carolina. I see South Carolina already.
Yep.
And when I researched the family again, they migrated from that section of South Carolina.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, with my maternal great-great-grandmother, was she perhaps born in South Carolina and came here with them?
I would, yeah.
You know,
very possible.
Very possible. Very
And
possible.
she died 1859 in the resignation
to the will of God.
To the will of God. Yeah. And we see who's in here. This is Mary Simpson, wife of L.A. Simpson, Stephen and
Sarah.
What does that say? And daughter of Stephen and Sarah Terry, born March 1830.
Okay.
Died 1857.
Okay.
She's 27 years old. In memory of Mary, wife of Stephen Terry, born July 20th,
1767 it is, or
68.
68.
And died July 20th, 1863. Is that?
It looks like a 6, yeah, definitely.
Looks like 60, almost 100.
Yeah.
And I think there's only one more right there.
Oh, okay. It's amazing how everything and everybody is connected.
It really is.
You know, it really is. Frederick, there he is. Frederick Terry, yeah. That's his grandpa too, was named after.
1806.
Yeah, 1806.
And died 1884.
And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pose the question. You know, perhaps that was his son. You know.
Yeah.
You never know.
So it's interesting up here. It's
Fieldstone there.
fieldstone graves.
Yeah. Now, Rob, have you ever heard of slaves being buried in the white cemetery, being the trusted, you know, indentured service,
Yes.
butlers and cooks and nursemaids? I've heard of that as well.
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what that is on that side.
It's very possible.
Uh-huh.
Our father, Lamar Simpson, born 1824 and died 18.
Now, he didn't come up in any of my searches. I haven't heard of a Lamar Simpson.
Yeah, maybe it's married in.
Married into the family, yeah.
And that looks like it.
Okay, and then this, of course, is our stone wall barrier coming this
Yeah.
way. Fenced in. Yeah. Beautiful. The picture that we see here is the Terry Hamler sisters. It's my grandmother, and these are some of her sisters. Miss Janie Parker is actually buried here. She was born 1899, died 1985. And that's her husband, Ernest. Of course, customary tradition, she was born to Terry. Of course, she took her husband's last name, became a Parker. So therefore, my father, all of his first cousins, my second cousins, third cousins, you know, we're all Terrys, but we do have different last names. But that Terry is our surname, though. Walk this way. This is my beloved, we called her Aunt Sack. Her name is Sarah Terry, my grandmother's sister. And she actually lived in Atlanta for a number of years once she left what we call the country here. And she lived in the area that's called Old 4th Ward, Edgewood area, Atlanta. Precious Hollis, no relation to me, but she was the actual pianist here for the church for many years. So this particular spot of land we have is my great-grandfather's land, Grandpa Till, and he willed it in his deed that he would give the land so that they would be able to build a church here. And as long as a church or a school is here, they pretty much just pay the taxes on it, they're good to go. And that was what he willed to his children. So even though we're here at Piney Grove Cemetery, the gated area has always been called the white folk cemetery. And perhaps just due to segregation, custom laws, decided to build a fence there, keep it boxed in. I'm not sure who's buried here, so Rob and I, we're gonna walk over here and take a look at it.
So if you remember on an earlier video, the other Robert and I actually came and looked at this cemetery. We had found it by accident, and we're underprepared to come to this one. I always said we would come back and take a look out there because there's some interesting...
Yeah, so this is all African American on this side. But as I was just telling Sean, I was born and raised literally in this church, baptized in this church. And but all my life this is what this was called. And I never knew of anybody to have a funeral here, you know. And so whenever we had a church member's funeral out on this side, that was just always what was said. This is White Folk Cemetery.
It's interesting. Yeah. And this is...
Those are some nice headstones too.
They are. I remember the big Milner.
Okay.
Is this a big one? And we were looking for a little town cemetery that's nearby.
Okay.
And accidentally found this one. And there's Milner's Crossroads somewhat nearby, which is why that Milner sticks out. But if I recall correctly, everyone in here is kind of, there's 3 different plots, but everyone in here is, yeah, absolutely. Everyone's pretty much related. Take the less briar path.
Right. Yeah, this definitely goes in the washing machine when we get home.
Yeah, these are Milner's, Jordan's.
Okay. Moon. I've never really heard the name Moon.
This is an interesting one right here. This is Sarah Reynolds and John Reynolds.
Okay.
And I remember this one when we came here last time. So Sarah died in 1902, and John Reynolds, his death date was never inscribed here. And if you notice, he doesn't have a footstone out here either.
Correct.
This is Sarah. So I think that, you know, he had his wife buried here. He paid for a tombstone with his name on it, and then wound up buried somewhere else.
Yeah, that had to have been it. There's Millers on those.
Yeah, these are Milner's from 47.
Yeah.
And this was all grown up when we were out here. It was, in fact, all those that are uncovered is from when we were out here.
You?
Yeah, that was us. That's our mark.
Yep. Wow.
I think there's some.
1893.
This one's from 1990. I think that was the newest
Oh, okay.
one out here. Willie Ruth Brown.
And by the grace of God, that tree just did miss.
Right.
You notice how they just did the cinder block
Yeah.
outline wall?
All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed this documentation of Terryville and your family
So thank you so
much as I have coming out here. I really want to say thank you for bringing me out.
Thank you, thank you.
This
Pleasure was
an
all
honor.
mine.
It was an
And
honor.
on behalf of all of the Terriers, we thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And one thing is we see all of these graves so often, and this is something I was just telling you a minute ago, we see all these graves and have no connection
Correct.
to them,
Correct.
and you provide the connection, the
Thank you so
stories
much.
about
Thank
who
you
these
so
people
much.
are,
Thank
and
you
it makes
so
it so
much.
much more real.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Once again, thank you for everything.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.